Hi, folks. I'm Steve from the Burn Pit. I'm co-host of a father-son veteran podcast that we do. That's available anywhere that you find podcasts. Just search for the Burn Pit, iTunes, Stitcher, and we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Burn Pit Talk. So join us there, and we can have great discussions and have a good time. We normally talk about a lot of veterans issues, but it's political season, so we've been talking a lot about politics. And this is my second video on my ballot. I'm voting for president. I'm voting for, so I'm going to talk about 4 votes right now, real quick. So I don't recommend everybody post their voting on social media. It's probably a bad idea if you're a career person, if you have coworkers who might be offended by your political opinions, but this is kind of what I do. So, and all my opinions are out there. So I thought I would share my actual votes. So in Pima County, we're voting for sheriff. I have a lot of sheriff's deputy friends, and I'm not going to name any of their names because I don't want them to get in trouble if the wrong guy wins. But they don't want Sheriff Nanos to get elected. He was appointed, and they don't want him elected. So I'm going to go with Napier for the county sheriff position. That's not a partisan vote. That's just, hey, the deputies tell me that's who they want. That's what I'm going to vote for. So so we have House of Representatives. District 2, Matt Hines and Martha McSally. So Hines is the Democrat, McSally's the Republican, but this isn't even really a partisan vote either. I'm going to vote for McSally, the Republican, but I met Martha McSally. She seems like a great person, very real, and she's already in her first 2-year term saved thousands of jobs in Pima County at the base. She saved the A-10 from being mothballed. She was an A-10 pilot. Retired Air Force officer, commanded, people in the Air Force's version of combat. Not to denigrate, but how can I, as a retired Army Master Sergeant, not support her? And especially because she's already done good things for the state. And then you have the Senate vote. So the Senate vote, John McCain and Ann Kirkpatrick. There's a Green Party candidate, but who cares? One of these two is going to win, McCain or Kirkpatrick. This is like tied to the presidential vote, right? I'm not a strong believer in strategic voting. I feel like you have to vote your conscience. You have to vote your integrity. Your integrity has to come into play. At least for me. I mean, I can't ever untie myself from the concept of my own personal integrity after 28 years in the Army, where that's all you have as a soldier is your integrity as a leader. You have to, your soldiers have to know that you're real. Your soldiers have to know that they can trust you and that they feel like the person that you represent yourself to be is the person who you really are. I don't know how better to explain it than that. And so most of my voting is for the person. Yeah, definitely policies come into play, but there's a bar that people have to get over their character. There's a character bar, and that comes into play in the presidential vote. And normally I'm a fairly conservative guy. I was a Democrat growing up in a house of Democrats, Union Democrats, and that's, I carried that forward into my young adult years, voted for Clinton, became disillusioned with the whole political process during the whole Lewinsky scandal. And I basically decided at that time I would never join a party. And I never have. And I don't live in a state now that really figures into the primary process. Or I might have this year registered as a Republican to strategically kind of, vote for a candidate. But because I strongly believe, and have been saying this since the primary process began, that Hillary Clinton won the presidential election when Donald Trump was nominated. Hands down. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting into the reasons why. If you are not following then the political season here, you're probably not watching this video. And so if you're watching this video, you know what's going on with Trump and Clinton. So Hillary won the election when Trump was nominated. Even if every single person who voted for Romney voted for Trump, Hillary still wins because Romney lost. And not everybody that voted for Romney is going to vote for Trump. I'm not voting for Trump. I was never voting for Trump. That was never an option. So since I believe that the Democrat is going to win the presidential election, I'm a big believer in divided government. I'm a big believer that the measure of success of a Congress is how much they leave us alone. So the fewer laws they pass, the happier I am. So divided government's a good thing. John McCain, he meets that hurdle of character. I believe he's a good man. I don't believe he's a corrupt politician. Obviously he's a veteran, prisoner of war and all that stuff. So he's going to get my vote for Senate. My reservations with McCain is his age. And of course the fact that, he's part of this machine and it would be nice to break up this machine. But yeah, I if Hillary's going to be president, then I want at least one of the houses of Congress to remain Republican, and that way, she can't ramrod her agenda. And if there's a Republican president, I'm fine with them having a Democratic chamber to keep them from ramming all their initiatives or policies down the country's throat. Divided government, man. It's the way to go. I love it. So that leaves us with the presidential vote. So I already told you that I'm not going to vote for Trump. And if you've been listening to my podcasts and talking to me on Facebook, then that was never an option. And so that, sorry for the extreme close-up. That leaves us kind of, where does that leave me? Who am I voting for? Why am I voting for president? I could leave it blank. I thought about leaving it blank, not voting for anybody. And the argument, of course, that if you don't vote for Trump, then that's a vote for Hillary is ridiculous. A vote is a vote. You vote for who you vote for. My vote was never guaranteed to the Republican candidate. So he's not losing my vote. He didn't earn my vote. And if that's your shtick, maybe if you live in a swing state, you're a Florida voter, you're choosing, as my buddy Mike says all the time, they're going to choose our president. Florida and Ohio and a few other states, they're choosing the president. So I don't even really need to vote. But I want to vote. I want to participate. And, I have decided that it's time for a woman president. It's time for me to put my vote behind a woman for president. I think, that she's the right person at the right time and would be an amazing president. And that's why I have decided to write in Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina. I think she's the right person for the job. And I have. already done it. I don't know if I spelled it right, but it doesn't matter because she's not going to win. I also think that somebody who doesn't want to be president is probably the right person to be president. Anybody who wants that job, anybody who wants to go through the process to get that job is probably a crazy person. So, yeah, that's it. Those are my votes this year. I think that it's important to vote if it's important to you to vote. I think it's a valid choice to not vote. If you don't care, if you don't want to take the time to learn about the process and inform yourself and make a decision, I don't think that you should just be following along like sheep with celebrities who tell you who to vote for. I think that we're better off. There's a slew on this ballot of folks in this column over here, the judges and the county clerks. I don't know anything about any of those people. I'm probably going to leave all those blank and let people who know what's going on there vote, and they can figure it out. It'll be fine. Those people will sort themselves out without my help. And my vote in those cases would be random. It would just be random noise in the process. So I'm not even going to vote in a bunch of those cases. And I encourage anybody to not vote if you don't want to vote. I don't think everybody should vote. I don't think it's an obligation. Well, I do think it's an obligation to inform yourself and make an informed vote. But other than that, if you can't be bothered, then don't vote. But if you're watching this video, you're probably not one of those people. Okay, that's all I got to say. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you provide some feedback, to make some comments, come to the Facebook page, and participate in our discussions. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day.